Good evening. Happy Thursday once again. Welcome everybody back to the man cave for one last time. Jeff
Hi there.
and Tanya. Tanya's back with us again tonight. She's helping us out. It is that time of week once
Struggling.
again.
Oh, good
All
Lord.
right. Brian, Anthony, Robert, Mike, glad you guys could make it in with us tonight, but it is still bourbon night. And I think I am going to kick off my Thursday night with a little bit of this barrel proof larceny. Jeff, what are you? Jeff's got the Heaven Hill out. I haven't
I
had a
thought
glass.
it only fitting to end it
Yeah,
and end the bottle.
I got more in here than if I end this bottle, I'll have to have somebody help me upstairs.
Well,
So
if I did ended one of the Eagle Rares in there, wouldn't have to get any help getting upstairs. I'd
yeah,
just stay where I'm at, lay on the
I'll give
floor.
myself. Maybe I'll give myself just a slightly deeper pour than normal for tonight. So, Tanya, are you having coffee tonight? Beth, glad
No.
you can make it. Daniel, Boder. Good, we got all our regulars here already. And Randall and Russ. All right.
And tuna killer.
Tuna killer. Yep. Awesome. I appreciate you guys checking in, but it's Thursday, so cheers. Bottoms
Cheers.
up. Mm. That larceny has a beautiful sweetness to it. I can't really I still have yet to really put my finger on the flavors that are coming out of that. It's something I need to sit down with and maybe think about a little bit. But this larceny also drinks like a 90 proof. It's really dangerous. You gotta be
Well,
careful with it.
I
Mike,
love the
glad you
black
could make
cherry
it.
notes.
Yeah, the Heaven Hills definitely got plenty of that. So good deal, Carl, Levi, Robert. Glad y'all could all make it. I also have pulled out just a little piece of cheese to munch on tonight. Tanya and I made a Costco run earlier this week, and I really love one of the main reasons I'm a member at Costco is so I can buy that 2 pound block of English coastal cheddar.
hmm That's good stuff. That's what I like putting straight and putting on my shepherd's pie or cottage pie,
Man,
either one.
that's a really good piece of cheese. Today I took it out and packaged. You know how it's kind of crumbly. You got to be
hmm
careful with it when you're cutting it. I cut it into 16 pieces and put them in Ziploc bags. So I don't cook with this. This is I don't know. This is what I would call. I would treat this like Malden sea salt or like a fine olive oil or a truffle hot sauce. It's a finishing ingredient. It's not something that I would. I don't think I'd make mac and cheese with it. This is something I'd put on top. It'd be good on it. It'd be good any way you want to use it. Tanya and I found some of this uh, Trader Joe's. Was it Trader Joe's, Tanya?
It was Trader Joe's, yeah.
They have an English coastal cheddar there too, but I don't remember what brand name was on it. It may have been Trader Joe's house brand, but it was equally good, and it costs a little bit more than the Costco. That Costco block is $13 or $12 or $13 for the 2 pound block. It's a good deal based on what most cheeses cost anyway. So
Well, I'll tell you what, the
Andrew,
price of chickens keep going up. I'm gonna have to quit eating chicken. Jeez.
I hadn't bought any chicken lately.
I bought
I buy the
breast
boneless and
today,
skinless chicken.
5.92 a pound.
Oh, where are you shopping?
Publix.
Oh, yeah, I could see it there. I buy my chicken breasts at Walmart. They're less than they're usually less than $3 a pound. I think. I buy the 6-pack, and usually they're those big. They're fairly large, and those are the ones I marinate and then pound them out and put them on the griddle.
Oh.
And,
Terrace Major's become my go-to beef at $7.99 a pound.
that's a
I'll
good
eat that,
price for any beef, especially that.
especially
Uh,
from wild pork. I mean, I was expecting it to
yeah,
be quite a bit more.
right. Andrew says we should melt it on toast and sprinkle it with Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce, that would be an interesting thing. Honorog has got me drizzling balsamic vinegar on cheeses. Uh, some of that
Yeah,
20-year-old balsamic.
this would be almost like a Welsh rarebit.
It's good.
Andrew, our UK guy, he knows.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm telling you what, cheese and onion pasty. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, buddy, that's good stuff.
Brian, we used to have a fresh market here, but it didn't last long. There's Tanya's sous chef. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll tell you guys.
they're big.
Anthony, a funny story. On my way to work, I passed this lumber company, and it's called Parton Lumber, so I call it Dollywood.
Dollywood, yep. All right, Tanya, we'll bring you back in a bit. All right. So, what I've decided I want to wrap things up with tonight, I've compiled a playlist of videos on my YouTube channel. If you're interested in seeing the whole playlist, it's on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel. And under the playlist menu, it should be the first one that comes up because it's the most recent one I created. There's a playlist called My Really Right Stuff. And I've compiled a list of some of my favorite things here that we'll have a glance through these tonight. We're not going to watch the video content, but I'm going to talk about each one of these things and why I feel that they're significant and why they're significant to me. So I've tried to kind of put them in an order that's worth looking at. The first one that I have on here is my Man Cave barbecue sauce number 7. And the reason I feel this is important, I feel this one's important to me for 2 reasons. Number one, I think it is my perfect rendition of my favorite style of barbecue sauce. I like the Western North Carolina style barbecue sauce because it's a tomato-based sauce that's got some sweetness to it, but it also has a little bit of that vinegar tang that you get from the Eastern North Carolina sauce, which I'm not much of a fan of. And this sauce, once it is made, you can take it in any direction you want to. You can add more sugar to it or more vinegar or go whichever direction you want to go. And the second reason I think this barbecue sauce is significant is because I think that everybody should have a homemade barbecue sauce, whether it's their own recipe or not. You should have a barbecue sauce that you fix when you're preparing a barbecue meal for guests or whatever, that something that will set your barbecue off from the next guys for people that are going to sauce their barbecue. I like using sauces, especially with pulled pork. I like to toss the pulled pork in a little bit of this sauce, and I also like to shake in a rub, which would be a finishing type rub. Like I might use something like the Lane Spellbound or some other really nice rub after the cook to toss into that. But I think that sauce is something that everybody needs a sauce, and I'm a fan of sauces in all forms of cooking, and I think great sauces are. See, what's the term? What am I looking for here, Jeff? It's the the frosting on the cake, maybe.
Yep.
Something
Just
that can take
throws it
something
over
that,
the edge.
yes, it's something that can push something that's already good just clean over the top. The second one I have on here is an Eastern North Carolina style barbecue sauce. And once again, I'm not a big fan of the Eastern style North Carolina sauce, but that video, if you can, you probably have a hard time seeing it on a small screen. That video is 11 years old. I made that one quite a long time ago, but it is a pretty good version of an Eastern North Carolina vinegar sauce. And that stuff, if you make it, it'll keep in the refrigerator indefinitely because of the vinegar content. And it's a good mop sauce if you ever want to, like if you want to mop ribs, or if you want to mop a chicken while it's cooking, or anything you might want to mop. That's a good sauce for that. It's just a fantastic sauce. And the third sauce on my list here is my second favorite style of barbecue sauce. It's a South Carolina mustard based sauce. And it's a no cook sauce. It's very easy to make. Just a few minimal ingredients that you put in a bowl and whisk it together, toss it in a mason jar, and toss it in the fridge. And I like the mustard style sauce in a lot of things. I'll put it on a barbecue sandwich as well. Or it's a great dip for wings. It's a great dip for French fries or whatever. Jeff, do you have, I don't know if I've ever asked you, Jeff, if you have a favorite barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I do a butter barbecue sauce. That's really good. It's very easy, very simple.
So what, do you make it or do you buy it?
Make it.
What goes in it?
Butter, tomato paste, molasses, a little bit of liquid smoke.
Mm-hmm.
What else goes in that thing?
And brown sugar or just
Yeah,
molasses?
some brown sugar. I already said molasses. Brown sugar
Mm-hmm.
naturally goes in it. Little bit, just a touch of garlic goes in it.
Yeah, it sounds good. Matt Harris. Matt, glad you could make it in here with us tonight. I haven't chatted with you in a while, Matt. Matt's down around, is he in Adelaide? Matt, what part of Australia are you? Are you in Adelaide or are you in Sydney? I can't remember, but I had the pleasure of having a dinner, or we had a drink together down at Atlanta Grill Company one time a couple years ago. I was really glad to get to meet you, Matt. So yeah, excellent. Andrew Manley says no to. Oh, it says it's in Sydney. Okay, Andrew says no to liquid smoke. I'm a liquid smoke guy. I use liquid smoke for a few things. It's kind of like steak sauce, Jeff.
Yep.
It's got some people won't do the liquid smoke thing.
I just put very, very little in it just to give it a little bit of a smoke flavor. I mean, yeah, I could smoke it too.
Yeah. So I think everybody needs to have some sauces in their repertoire. And since my following is basically barbecue, I just want to talk about barbecue sauces without going into a lot of the other sauces that I like to make. The fourth thing I have on my list here, it's a slot dog video, but the reason it's there is because it includes recipes and directions for making my homemade pimento cheese and my homemade hot dog chili that are two of my wife's favorite things ever.
Yep.
And I've made both of those multiple times, and we've done them both recently here, so they're probably fresh on everybody's mind. These pickled onions are super easy to make, and they go great on burgers. They go great on hot dogs. They go great on pulled pork sandwiches. I make it to put them on pulled pork sandwiches. For me, an absolute perfect pulled pork sandwich is going to have either pickled onions on it or some of that sweet coleslaw that I make. And that sweet Southern creamy coleslaw is the next item on my list. These are things that they're not meal items or dish items. They're condiments. So far is basically what we're looking at. So to be a well versed backyard chef, these are things that I feel like everybody ought to have in their arsenal. Hey William, glad you could make it. Yeah, the channel's not going anywhere, but I'm just not going to be adding anything else to it. It'll all still be there. Oh, Brian says the hot dog chili scored him some points with his in-laws. That's always good. The first time I made that for the family here, my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were eating it out of a bowl. I bought it. I made it to put on hot dogs and hamburgers or something else we did. And they were just eating it by the spoonful. They really loved it. Cornbread. Any Southern barbecue cook is going to have a cornbread recipe, and this one's mine. And in this video, I can't remember if I did it in the video description or not. I might have. There's a see if I put the. I did. I gave, this is a cast iron pan cornbread recipe, and I set this up so you can make it in an 8, 10, or 12-inch cast iron pan. The recipe's available there for all three sizes of your basic pans, depending on what you want to make. And it's a very good cornbread, and cornbread is flexible. You can add things to your cornbread. If you like diced jalapeno in there, you can do that. And Dewey, I have made pork rinds, and I think I actually made a video on it. I'll have to look, and I'll dig that up and I'll send you the link to it. I'm pretty sure I made a video on that. It's just been a while.
Now, what kind of corn do you like in your cornbread, John?
Cream corn.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sweet cream corn.
If I'm going to add whole corn to it anyway, it's coming. That's the form it's coming in for the cornbread. So cornbread's a great thing to have. And if you want to get really crazy and learn to make hush puppies, these hush puppies are off the hook. They're a Southern style hush puppy also that they have a sweetness to it. And yeah, guys, the pork rinds, making pork rinds from scratch is a chore. If you want to make pork rinds yourself and have them fresh, I recommend buying the pork rinds that are ready to go in the oil rather than going through the work you have to go through to make that from pigskin. Tanya and I stopped at a Asian market in Charlotte one time, and they had pork belly. They had skinless pork belly, but they had the skins available wrapped up in a pack of 2 that were the skin size for a full pork belly. So I bought 2 of those, and I brought them home, and I made pork rinds from it. But after I did the research to figure out what's involved in doing that, it's a chore. It's a lot of work to get that skin to the point where you can actually drop them in the oil to make a pork rind. But I'll dig that video up, Dewey, and I'll send you a link to it. But hush puppies make a great side for any barbecue meal also. Deviled eggs. I've got this video here on some really good deviled eggs. If you want to learn to make a good one, this is a good place to start. And they're like anything else. That filling that you're making from the egg yolks, you can put whatever you want in there. You can make that whatever you want it to be. You don't have to do exactly what I did here. And if you want to make deviled eggs, I highly recommend you experiment with it and take them in different directions. There's a lot of opportunity there to make a deviled egg unique. And that's one of the things when I go somewhere where there's deviled eggs on a table, it's typically some sort of covered dish dinner. There's always at least 2 or 3 plates of deviled eggs, and they're all different. So if you get to a place like that, try one of everybody's and see if you can find out what it is you like. Barbecue baked beans. That is a staple for any barbecue meal. It's a great side to have. Uh, it's one of my favorite things to make to go with a barbecue meal. It's inexpensive, it goes a long way, and they just have a beautiful flavor. And this particular recipe that I put together has diced peaches and diced mango in it as well. It's really good. You can leave that out if you don't want it, but it's a little bit of fruit and those baked beans is a game changer for flavor, in my opinion. Jeff, have you ever come across baked beans with fruit in it?
Yep.
What kind of fruit was in it?
Peaches.
Mm-hmm. So these start out with Bush's baked beans. I didn't make the base beans from scratch. You start out with one of those big number 10 cans, or however many of those you might need. But they go on the grill so they get smoked. And another thing to do is if you're cooking something like ribs or a pork butt, put the baked beans in a pan underneath one of those and let them drip on it, and let some of that fat from your cooking render into the baked beans. And then after that's done, there's going to be a lot of that fat in there. You take something like a spider and dip the beans out, where you leave a lot of that behind, but some of it's coming with the beans, and it's a good flavor to carry into the bean bowl. It really is. Cheese grits. You guys know I love grits, and I've made grits countless number of times. And on this particular video, I went through my entire process of making grits using a double boiler, and I was using the Marsh Hen Mill grits. You don't have to follow my method for cooking the grits, but the things that go in the grits are cheese, and I use diced jalapenos in these. There's a barbecue. I had never had jalapeno cheese grits before until this barbecue place. It's a couple miles down the road from me opened up, and they had it as a side. And after I had that, I had to learn to make it. It's just easy. You just put a couple of finely diced jalapeno peppers in the grits when the grits have about 10 or 15 minutes left to cook. Delicious. It's a wonderful side. And here in my area, most of the barbecue recipes or the barbecue restaurants that have any respectable sides at all, they'll have cheese grits. They'll also have baked beans. From what I've got here, those are the only two things that are going to be on there. Garlic Parmesan mashed potatoes are another side that I like to make. And I made this video on a quick and easy method for doing that. Mashed potatoes in my cooking tend to be a base for something else more so than an item of its own. I'll serve brats or sausages or even beef short ribs, Jeff, over. I like to serve them over grits most of the time, but I'll have them over mashed potatoes just as quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you can have it as a side of its own, and you can make your own sauce or gravy to go on those if you want to as well. Every backyard cook that ever wants to be anything or anybody needs to have their own macaroni and cheese. And I've done a lot of them. And I think my favorite one that I've done is this one. It's called the Atlanta Grill Company Sizzle Mac. And the reason I called it that, I seasoned the bechamel with the Atlanta Grill Company Sizzle rub, which is a spicy rub. It's kind of like Lane's SPF 53. It may be, Jeff, would you think the Sizzle's a little spicier maybe than SPF 53?
I think so, just a little bit, but not much. I mean, it's not something you need to shy away from. It's not going to eat you up.
And that recipe also, that video shows you my whole process for making mac and cheese. When you watch that video, it seems like it's a lot of work, but it's really not. I make my bechamel and cheese sauce in the amount of time that it takes to cook the macaroni noodles. It goes very quickly. After you've done that a time or two, you can have that done while the pasta's cooking. And you can have great macaroni and cheese in 15 minutes once you learn how to make that bechamel-based cheese sauce. I'm not going to call it a Mornay. I keep wanting to call it a Mornay, but it's not a real Mornay. It's a little different. But grits. Okay.
What's a grit?
What are grits? Grits are
it's ground up corn.
It is. It's most people that don't know what grits are, they do know what hominy is, and it's similar to that.
But hominy is even bigger, and hominy is softer.
Yeah.
Grits are from dried corn, from the grain, and you can get either white grits or yellow grits, and you can get them fine ground or coarse ground. I myself, I think John will agree with this, we prefer coarse ground grits.
Yeah.
It's more like polenta, not hominy.
Yep.
Polenta.
Yep, that'd be better.
Also, I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say was polenta. I didn't mean to say hominy. So yes, Andrew, it's similar to polenta. So
I guess down in Australia, you guys probably don't get any grits.
Well, it's a southern thing.
Yep.
You get outside of the southeastern United States, a lot of people have never had grits and they don't know what they are. But I challenge you to search it out if you're not familiar with it. The next thing I have on my list here is a quiche. And I think everybody that likes cooking outside on the grills needs to have some breakfast items, and a quiche is a beautiful breakfast item. And this one I made when I was cooking a lot on that Alpha One wood-fired outdoor oven, and it's a beautiful recipe. You know, it's an egg-based pie, basically. I think most of you guys have probably had quiche in one form or another. Jeff, do you ever make quiche?
Kathy does more than I do.
Yeah.
She's got a couple of really good recipes.
Mm-hmm. But it's easy to make, and I think you probably could make that quiche up the night before, put it in the refrigerator while all you got to do is throw it in the oven in the morning.
Yeah, but I don't know that I would put it in your pie crust the night before.
Right. You'd say you wouldn't do that. You'd keep all of it in another container where all you got to do is dump it in the pie crust.
Yep.
So
just give it a quick mix and throw it in.
Right. So next on my list is what I call a Kamado Joe leftover turkey pot pie. And I put this one together because this is a good way to use leftovers, whether it's chicken, turkey, beef, pork, whatever kind of root protein you've got left over, you can turn it into one of these pies and have meals for days out of that. It's it's got a filling in it that's kind of like cream of chicken soup with vegetables and then whatever protein you've added to it. It's a very easy dish to make. You don't have to use rolled pie crusts if you don't want to, or you don't have to. I don't make homemade pie crusts. I buy the pie crusts and roll them out and shape them myself. I've never made one from scratch. That's something I might learn to do here in the future, though.
You cheated on our apple pie?
Oh yeah, I've never made a pie crust from scratch.
And I made my pie crust. You cheated.
Yeah, I did. There are some things that I cut corners on, and pie crusts are one of them.
Pie crust is easy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to learn how to do it. Lasagna. Lasagna is a beautiful item to cook on a grill. It does bring it's just like a mac and cheese. It picks up some of that wood fire smoke flavor.
Yep.
And it's that particular lasagna I made, and I made it in a loaf pan, one of my cast iron bread loaf pans, and I did it on using the dojo on the Kamado Joe, because that dojo actually improves the Kamado Joe's ability to brown something on top.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is one area. Do what?
let's stop for a second because you bring up a very good point here, and I want to elaborate that. A lot of people think that certain things need to be made in the oven.
Mhm.
Get out of that mindset. Whatever you're going to cook in the oven, throw it out on the grill. It's going to give it a whole new dimension, and I think you're really going to like the way it comes out.
Yep. That's a, I got a little bit of that larceny down the wrong pipe here. Give me just a second. So,
Well, I'll
yes.
tell you what, while John is recovering, let me answer a question that Andrew had right quick.
Okay.
So, Andrew, grits isn't solid. Grits are kind of like oatmeal, but not as gooey. And they're absolutely delicious.
It's more
Now,
like a very coarse cornmeal.
yeah, if the
It
cornmeal
becomes
has been
cornmeal if you actually grind it
delicious.
finer.
Yeah, it's really good
So,
stuff.
yep. So, as Jeff was saying, one of the things I've always said is if you can cook it in the oven, you can also cook it on your grill. And that's what makes it fun. And that's one of the things I do. I cook things on the grill, and everything that you're seeing here is stuff none of this has been cooked in the oven. Or there's two things that you're going to see tonight that weren't cooked, but everything else was on a grill or smoker. And the lasagna is a good one to have in your arsenal as well. And I tossed this one in here just for fun. This barbecue lasagna. This was an experimental thing I did, which I never went back and revisited, and I wanted to revisit it. But it is a lasagna that I made with leftover chicken, leftover pulled pork, and leftover brisket, and used cheese and barbecue sauce in it. It's not a traditional Italian lasagna. It's called a barbecue lasagna, and it was fantastic. The only thing I didn't that wasn't absolutely perfect about that is the top layer of pasta. I used no cooked pasta, and that was a mistake on this particular recipe. I needed to have gone ahead and cooked the pasta. All of the pasta down the stack was good, but the top one was a little crunchy. But it had a delicious. Everything that we did there had a delicious flavor. Another thing you see commonly as a side item here at barbecue places is Brunswick stew. And Brunswick stew is an amazing thing if you've never had it before. It's a stew that's typically made with leftover barbecue meats, primarily pulled pork. But you can put chicken in it as well if you want to. And some people even put brisket, but shredded meat works best in Brunswick stew. And there's vegetables in there. I like to put okra in mine, which a lot of people don't like. And if you don't, you can leave it out. But it's got lima beans and corn and I don't remember what all I've put in this one. This one's got this was the first video I made of it, or no, it's not the first video I made. I've made more videos of this. This one has crushed tomatoes, diced potatoes, diced onion, corn, lima beans, and then you have it's got chicken broth as the base liquid along with the tomato sauce, and then you've got barbecue sauce, brown sugar, some barbecue rub to turn that into a really nice what they call a Brunswick stew. And you'll see that as a side item listed at a lot of barbecue places around here, but I like Brunswick stew as a meal, as a small bowl of that, as a really hearty meal in the cold weather. It's just something that's
as good as chili.
Yes, it's definitely. And as you can see, my very next thing that I put on my list is my smoked Guinness chili. That's another cold weather staple. I like I like to make chili, and I like to make a lot of it, and I like to put Guinness beer in my chili. So that's a 4-year-old video, and the Brunswick stew is a 4-year-old. I probably made those pretty close to the same time. Uh, so as we get on down the list here, pulled beef. This is a chuck roast. Pulled beef has a lot of uses. I like to make a pulled beef sandwich just like I would make a pulled pork sandwich. On make it on, but I make it on Texas toast, and I top it with onions and green pepper, and you can put a lot of different things on it. You can top it with whatever you like, but a lot of people, that's something that you could use in birria tacos. You could use it in regular tacos. Jeff, what else? What else are people using pulled beef for?
You can put it in cottage pie.
Yeah, yep.
You can even put it in a cheese dip.
So yeah, pulled beef, and that's a chuck roast. It's a 6 to 8 hour cook, depending on how you do it. You just season your chuck roast like you would a brisket or however you want to season it, and you put it in the smoke. I like to put it in the smoke for 4 to 5 hours, and I like to finish it in a braise. And my braise for beef is always the same. It's the same for ribs and everything else. I'll have a 50-50 mix of Guinness and chicken or beef stock, one or the other. And I'll cut some on. And that particular one, I put coarsely chopped onion and green pepper in it, and I put garlic in it as well. And down near the end of the braise, I put a little bit of a cornstarch slurry in there to let it thicken up, because you can toss that beef in that sauce at that point as well, and it's just really good. This next one is a smoked chicken salad, and I decided to include this one because I think everybody. I'm probably the last guy on the planet that cooks chickens whole. Everybody's got their spatchcock and their frog and every other trick in the book for cooking chicken a better way. But whatever method you use to cook your whole chicken, just keep doing it. But cook one sometime and then take all the skin off of it, pull all the meat off the bone, and shred it or chop it and use it to make some chicken salad, because that chicken salad made with the smoked chicken is a game changer if you like chicken salad. And I love chicken salad, and I just use chicken salad for sandwiches. And I'll make a grilled chicken salad or a chicken salad panini with it. And
So speaking of that, John, did you ever try the using the Publix fried chicken for chicken salad?
I never did. I did not.
You need to try that, buddy. I'm telling you.
My chicken salad is not your grandma's chicken salad because I don't put fruit and nuts in mine. This one comes with a 50-50 mix of Duke's mayo and sour cream as the base for the dressing, and then some finely diced celery, a shallot finely diced, a little stone ground mustard, some chopped parsley, some Italian herb seasoning blend, some everything bagel blend, and a little salt and pepper. So that's not your typical chicken salad, but if
and
it
the thing that
good,
makes that chicken salad a game changer or a make or break is the Duke's mayo.
Yes, Duke's.
There is
no other. There's no other mayo. And
all others are
the other line of chicken, this volcano chicken is a stuffed chicken breast that I like to make. And what I do is I take a knife and I open up a cavity in the large end of the chicken breast where I can take a jalapeno pepper that I've cored, and I'll stuff that jalapeno pepper with a seasoned cream cheese mixture, stuff it back in there, close it up, and then I'll Jeff, it's wrapped in bacon. This is something I
gotta be good.
Yeah. So you wrap it in bacon and you let that bacon get good and crispy while you don't overcook your chicken. Don't use thick cut bacon. Use regular bacon. And just near the end, you sprinkle some cheddar cheese across the top of it. And once that cheddar cheese is melted, these chicken breasts are done, and they're amazing. They're really good. I don't know if I've got at the end of that video where you can get a better look at these. Yeah, so that's kind of what they look like. This is when I was cooking on that PK grill. So this is it's been a while. There you go. Maybe that's a little bit bigger picture of that, but these things are delicious, and they're just really.
And that cream
amazing.
cheese really tones down that jalapeno. So don't be afraid to try that recipe.
Anytime you cook a jalapeno, it loses a lot of its punch.
Yep.
And I took the seeds and everything out too, so there's none of that left. Everybody needs to know how to cook a cranberry, or not a cranberry, but a pork roast. And this is a pork loin, a segment of a whole pork loin. And the reason I chose to include this one is because my cranberry sauce recipe's there, and that cranberry sauce is just as good on the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner table as it is on this pork roast. It's a homemade cranberry sauce. It's very good. So, Brian, they're on sale right now. They're on sale this week. I guess it is. This is the week of the 4th will be coming up. So, yeah, keep your eyes open for pork butt sales. I probably need to go get one. I haven't cooked a butt lately, but I guess this will be the week to do it, or next week when I'm back. But a whole pork loin, they're easy to cook. And what I typically do with a pork loin is I'll put it on the smoker, and I like to cook those things at about 325. I'll season the outside of that meat. I also tie mine up with butcher's twine to get it kind of tight where it holds a better circular shape, because pork loin will flatten out oblong on its own when it cooks. But if you tie it up, it holds a little bit better shape. I season it and cook it, and I'll put a thermometer in that guy, and I pull my pork loin off about the time, or if it's just for me, it comes off. I pull mine off when I hit 131 or 132 internally. If Tanya's going to be eating pork loin, I take it off at 137 or 138 because I need it to coast up past 140. I've discovered that 140 with pork loin is the temperature at which there's no visible pink left in the meat, or that as best I can tell, there's no pink left. I don't mind a little bit of pink for myself, but if you cook a pork loin and get it off at the 137 to 142 range, it's going to be some of the most tender and juicy pork loin you've ever had. And drizzling that with a cranberry glaze or a cranberry sauce or any kind of fruit glaze goes great on pork loin. So that's why I've included that one. But that cranberry sauce is something that, if you like cranberry sauce, you're going to want to check that recipe out. The next one on here is my molasses and cinnamon brine pork chops. And I use that molasses and cinnamon brine for thick cut pork chops that I'm going to grill or put on the griddle. And I'll also use it for whole pork tenderloins. The pork tenderloins are small, and I like to marinate them in this same recipe. This molasses and cinnamon is my variation of a Michael Simon recipe. And I can't remember where I came across what Michael Simon did, but mine is loosely based on Michael Simon's idea. He had molasses and cinnamon in his. I think some of my other ingredients are a little different than what he had used, but that makes a beautiful flavor on the pork. And whenever I do that, I reserve a little bit of that brine aside to baste with while I'm cooking. And it puts a beautiful flavor on this pork. I didn't mean to click on that. Easy pastrami. Pastrami, if you like pastrami is very easy to make from scratch, and I'm going to say it's cheaper to make from scratch than it is to buy, but I'm not 100% sure about that anymore, Jeff, because when I make the pastrami like that, I buy pieces of a brisket flat to do it with. And anytime you buy pieces of a brisket flat, you're going to be paying north of $8 a pound for it. I've found.
Yep.
I haven't found, and I think you can probably buy deli pastrami for $8 a pound. I would guess. I've never bought any, so I might be wrong on that. Do you buy it, Jeff?
Every now and then, but usually I make it because I'll wait, pick up a bunch of the Snake River Farms
Yep.
corned beef at around St. Patrick's Day. Costco will have it, and I turn
Right.
that into pastrami.
So I put the ingredients in there, and all you've got to do is you're basically making this dry rub that includes the Prague powder #1 pink curing salt, and you just dust the outside of this brisket piece with that, and you can either tightly wrap it in plastic and put it in a Ziploc bag, or you can vacuum seal it. I prefer vacuum sealing it, and you toss it in the refrigerator for about 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, you take it out of the refrigerator and you just rinse it off, and then you make a pastrami rub to go on it. And my pastrami rub's very simple. It's coarsely ground black pepper, coarsely ground coriander, and granulated garlic. That's all I put on the outside of my pastrami. You can make that as complicated as you want, but then you throw that in the smoker and you smoke it until that brisket flat hits an internal temperature. I take mine to about 195. I don't let it go any further than that because I don't want that falling apart. I want that to stay together. And once it's done, I take it off and I chill it. I put it in the refrigerator overnight and then take it off and slice it with my knife. I don't try to slice it hot because I want to be able to slice, flat pieces of it. You probably could get away with taking that off at less than 195, but I found that 195 works pretty good because it's like brisket. It's like brisket. If you take a brisket off at 195, it's going to be tough. You need this to be a little tough. You don't want it to be. It's not like we're not serving brisket, so this makes good deli style pastrami that you can slice off and put on sandwiches or use it however you like.
Plus, you're slicing that real thin, so it's not
Yeah.
going to be tough.
So that's something that is fun to do. It's great for sandwiches or whatever else you might want to use it for. Prime rib. This is one of the most feared pieces of meat on the planet, I believe, and it is such because it's expensive to buy usually. Beef, as you know, has gotten expensive, and prime rib is no different. You're buying these things that might weigh, I don't know, I guess some of the smaller prime ribs I've seen are 5 pounds, and I don't know if I can legitimately call it prime rib because there's a lot of name games with this thing. I will call it a standing rib roast, and I think
that's the majority of what you're getting is a standing rib roast. Because the prime comes from a different section of the cow. I mean, it's the same section, but it's farther up.
Everybody tells me that prime indicates that it's prime grade, and I never buy prime grade hardly, but
I don't think so. I think it's from the rib count.
Yeah, I buy boneless. If you want to buy bone in, that's fine. But these things are easy to cook. It's hard to mess one of these things up if you follow a few simple guidelines. You're going to cook this like a steak. You don't want to overcook it. You need to know where you want it to finish. I like medium rare, or medium rare to medium. I'm okay with anywhere in that range on prime rib. So I want mine to finish between 135 and 145 degrees. And I like to smoke these guys at 250. And I like to salt and season mine at least 12 hours before the cook. I do these
Definitely.
two. I do these two different ways. The first way is I'm going to salt it and season it before the cook, and I'll put it on the smoker at 250, and it takes 3 to 3.5 hours, give or take a half an hour in either direction. So you could be, I'm going to say 3 to 3.5 hours. Most of the time, we'll get one of these done, unless you've got one that's just huge. Because these things don't get that much bigger around, they get longer depending on how many bones you've bought. So, and once they're cooked, once they're off the smoker, it's okay to wrap that guy or tin it in foil and let it sit for a half an hour. I think resting one of those things for a half an hour is a good idea. But
Definitely keeps from having a bloody mess on your cutting board.
at 250, I'll take mine off the smoker. If I want mine to finish at 135, I'm probably going to take mine off at about 127 to 127 or 128, because cooking at 250, it's not going to sail as far as it was if I was cooking it at 350 or 400. The other way I like to cook these is just to salt it ahead of time, and I'll use two smokers. I'll have one going at 500 degrees, and I will put one of these in that smoker at 500 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes to put a sear on the outside of the meat. And then I'll pull it off and let it cool a bit, and then I'll smear it with the seasoned butter. And once I've done that, I'll put it in a 250 degree smoker and let it finish. That's the two different ways I cook these. And honestly, I think the seasoned butter thing's probably not something I'm going to continue doing, but I don't see a need to put a sear on the outside of one of these that I've cooked at 250. It develops enough of a crust that I'm happy with it. And one of the problems I see is when you sear that meat that's already cooked, it does not take much to char it. And if you've put things on your rub or in the outside of it that are herb based, like rosemary or thyme or oregano or whatever, those herbs are going to char and they're going to be bitter. So try to, if you've never tried not searing it, try it sometime. Jeff, you do yours this way, don't you?
I sear mine.
Do you?
I 500 degrees, and I drop it back.
So you do it up front.
Yep.
So
I usually don't trim a bunch of fat off of mine, and I like the way that fat gets nice and crispy.
Right. Okay. So don't be afraid of prime rib.
No, definitely.
It's an easy cook. And if you give yourself 4 hours, you're going to be in good shape. If you need to have that thing on the dinner table at 6 p.m., if you put it on your grill or smoker at 250 at 2, you're probably going to be in good shape.
Yep.
It doesn't take a lot more thought than that. So moving on down, we're talking about pork butts. I've got videos here of two different ways to cook a pork butt. Jeff and I spent a lot of time working out this 12 hours at 200 degrees and then finishing it up at a higher temperature. And that's my first video. That makes amazing pork butts. That makes some of the best pork I've ever had.
Definitely.
The second pork butt here is a hot and fast one where you can be done in 6 to 7 hours start to finish on a smoker. Then I've got a video here on my method for making baby back ribs. I've quit making pork spares. Jeff, it's been a really long time since I've done much anything with pork spares. I like baby backs, and
no, we like Walmart extra meaty, baby.
Yeah. The Walmart extra meaty.
Jeff and I
we search out these racks of baby backs that weigh at least 5 pounds, and they're just amazing. So I don't know that everybody can find those at every Walmart, but
Now
That's
you
my
got to search for them. They're not always there, but I'll tell you what, getting that little extra loin meat in there, oh my
yes.
God, throws it over the top.
It is good. So that's my method. I've included that in this list. And then my favorite barbecue meat of all time is the beef short ribs. And
Definitely.
you can, if beef short ribs, dino bones, plate ribs, the bigger ones, whatever you get, you're going to cook it all the same way. I prefer the smaller 4-bone racks.
Hmm.
The and I don't have a problem. I've cooked plenty of those dino bones that are the bigger 3-bone racks that are further down the rib. They're good, but they're to me they're kind of like tomahawk ribeyes. They're a showpiece more so than a dinner item. They look good on the plate. They look good on the grill, but it's not something I want to do that often.
And correct me if I'm wrong, John. Aren't you paying almost half again as much for those bigger ribs?
It depends on where you get them. The
I mean,
last
that's
rack of
what I've
those
seen
I
down
bought,
here.
they're expensive. The last rack of those I bought was at Patton's down in
Hmm.
Duluth, Georgia, and I think I paid $11 a pound for the 3-bone rack I got.
Well, you ain't gonna pay $11 a pound now. I can guarantee you that.
They more than that, yeah.
Oh,
It's been a while. Well, no, I take that back. I bought a dino rack from my local butcher up here that time that I was not happy with. We've already been through that one,
yeah.
but and then I was not going to include brisket in my list, but then I changed my mind and decided to go through my brisket videos and try to remember which one I thought was the best brisket I've ever cooked. And I've cooked quite a few. I've made quite a few brisket videos, but I think my favorite brisket that I've cooked and made video on is this Kamado Joe Texas style brisket. That it's an 8-year-old video. It's been out there for a while, so that video will show you the method that I use for that brisket, and that covers most of the big barbecue meats. I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about all of those. Yeah, Robert says he likes that one. So, so I've got another fan of that particular video out there, but that was probably the best brisket I've ever made. And I've made a lot, so it took me a while to come up with that. So that covers all the big barbecue meats. The last few videos I've got in this list are your desserts. And here in my part of the world, banana pudding is a favorite
Yep.
for picnics, cookouts, and this is a great banana pudding recipe. It's no cook. It's easy to put together, and it's delicious. And learn how to make banana pudding. And a dish of banana pudding like that's enough for 20 people or more. Because you're just gonna that stuff's really sweet, and you're just gonna serve a little serving of that. So everybody needs to learn to make banana pudding. Now, this cherry peach bourbon dump cake. This recipe holds a special place in my heart. Let me see if I can get a bigger picture of the finished product up here. If I can get it to load. It's going to make me watch an ad first, I guess. Maybe not. Okay. This thing is amazing. And this is another thing that's really simple to put together. It's a dump cake. And most people do dump cakes in Dutch ovens. And I did this one in a 9x13. That's actually a enameled stoneware Le Creuset pan. And I used cherry pie filling and peach pie filling. So I dumped 1 can of each of those in there, and I added a little bit of bourbon to that, and I think I probably added a little bit of lemon juice too. Maybe let me see if I. No, I didn't, but you should. You need something. If you make this, I would add a tablespoon or 2 of lemon juice to this to put a little acidity to some of that sweetness. But You put that in the bottom of the pan, then you take a box of yellow cake mix and spread it out all over the top of it, and then take a stick and a half of butter and cut it into little slices and lay it across the top of that, and then you just cook it. And I use I sprinkle brown sugar and cinnamon over the top of all that. And guys, I got to tell you, that's one of the best tasting desserts I've had in my entire life, and it's super easy to make.
Yep.
It may not be pretty, and it's not particularly pretty right there, but the flavor of that is off the hook.
The only
It
thing
is
that needs, John, is a nice scoop of vanilla ice cream.
Well, vanilla ice cream might even put that over the top, because this is something I would serve that probably in half cup servings. It's that rich. It's really good. But that, my friends, is one of my favorite desserts I've ever
Pure
made.
gold.
If not the favorite dessert I've ever made, that one is darn near the top of my list. And if you haven't tried it, I would. Okay. The chocolate chip mega cookie, a cast iron pan cookie, that's another thing that's fun to do. You can take about any chocolate chip cookie recipe you want to make and just take all of the cookie dough and spread it out in a cast iron pan and cook it. It's a crowd pleaser. And this is another one. Let me talk about cooking desserts on the grill for a minute. Desserts on the grill, they need to be done in a clean grill. You don't want to try to cook this sort of thing in a Kamado that's got a bunch of grease residue in it, because that will impart a flavor to your dessert that you might not like. I should have prefaced this with that. So keep that in mind when you're baking breads, cakes, pies, or other desserts in your Kamado. You want to make sure that there's no white smoke coming from fat burning out of the grill, or you won't like what you come up with.
I mean, that's the nice thing. You and I have the luxury of having that second Kamado sitting over there that we dedicate to vegetables and desserts.
I've
No
got
meat,
two
no
Kamado
dog.
Joe Classics out here. I've got the Classic 2 and the Classic 3. And my Classic 2 is my everything but meat grill. I don't cook meat in that grill at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Scott, glad you could make it in with us tonight.
Well, he finally recovered from the AGC show. He worked hard.
Yeah, I heard about that. Scott was sweating with the chefs out there. Good deal.
Yeah, he worked hard. We put him to work good.
Bourbon peach pie is another one of my favorite recipes. I love peach pie. Peaches are coming in now, so this is something I might make again here in the near future. I actually, that one in that video, I cooked it in a cast iron pan in the wood fired oven, but I could cook that on the Kamado as well. Or guys, if you don't want to cook that in the grill, cook it in your indoor oven and it's going to be delicious. But it's a very good peach pie recipe. The bourbon is optional. I like cooking with bourbon. You can tell that by the names of most of these recipes, but there's not a recipe in here that you can't leave the bourbon out and still have a good recipe. If you don't like bourbon, don't put it in there. If you don't like the flavor that it might bring for you, just leave it out. One of my top three favorite desserts is my blueberry cream cheese pound cake. And that's the next one here. And I made a blueberry bourbon sauce to drizzle on the top of it, so it's really crazy good. That blueberry cream cheese pound cake, I think in this recipe, I probably cooked it in I don't know if I cooked that in the bundt pan or if I cooked it in the loaf pan, but the recipe here would be enough to make it in 2 loaf pans or 1 bundt pan. I don't know why I'm lagging so hard here tonight. Let's see what I cooked it in. Okay, I cooked that in loaf pans. So my recipe is enough for 2 of those or 1 full size bundt pan. So the blueberry sauce, Did I? I guess I did.
Scoop of ice cream on that too.
I didn't show where I made the blueberry sauce in that video. I don't guess, but I did include. Well, the sauce can be. It says it can be found in the Atlanta Grill Company Fan Zone Facebook group. So that recipe is not linked in the video. But anyway, I'll have to dig that up. Pumpkin pie. This pumpkin pie got me in trouble. I I made pumpkin pie. Uh, this is a cream cheese. This pumpkin pie's got cream cheese in it, which sets it apart from most. It's really good. Uh, but I made a whipped cream to go on top of it with pumpkin spice and a little bourbon, which was really good also. But I made the mistake of telling my mom I thought my pumpkin pie was better than hers. So she challenged me on it, and she did. She challenged me on it. She says, "Well, you bring your pumpkin pie to Thanksgiving dinner, and I'll make one, and we'll let people taste both and see." And my pumpkin pie got the thumbs up. So my pumpkin pie was better than mom's.
Oh man!
But everybody, pumpkin pie is delicious. It's really good, and
But now,
it's
did you use
also
fresh pumpkin or did you use canned pumpkin?
this one. I've made it with fresh pumpkin, so let me check here and see. I don't remember if this one was made with pumpkin that I made or not. I did. I think I did because it says I used 2 cups of pumpkin puree. This I can't remember if this. Yeah, I can't remember if this was right after I roasted pumpkin on the Kamado Joe or not because I
Fresh
did.
pumpkin is the only way to go. The canned pumpkin just doesn't do it.
I did roast some pumpkin, and I don't remember if it was on this one or not, but you're going to see something where I know I use fresh pumpkin coming up here because that's why I made these things. The next recipe is my mom's pumpkin bread recipe, and this is something my mom makes prior to Thanksgiving, and she makes a whole bunch of these little loaves, and they end up in the freezer, and she'll have them later on. And I talked my mom into giving me the recipe, and I made a video on my mom's pumpkin bread. That's another one that's real easy to make. Now, the roasted pumpkin seeds and pumpkin pound cake video. That video I used fresh pumpkin because I made there's the pumpkin seeds from the pumpkin I used. I seasoned and roasted those, but I don't think I have. Here we go. There's actually a picture of the pumpkin that I used. I roasted that pumpkin on the Kamado Joe, and I made pumpkin puree out of that. That was not an optimal pumpkin either for doing this with, but it came out fine. It was not one of your sweet pumpkins or whatever you call them. It was a Halloween pumpkin, but it still worked.
The sugar daddies.
Yeah, but the stuff I made with it came out extremely well. And I'm not the world's biggest fan of pumpkin, but I want to tell you something. Well, this pumpkin pound cake that I made was amazing. It I cooked it on the Kamado Joe, so I guess when the lid opens up here, you'll get to see what it looks like cooked. It's beautiful, and it has an amazing flavor to it. And I made a caramel. I think what I'm doing right here, I made a caramel drizzle to drizzle over the top of that pound cake. And there's the butter going in, a little bit of
heavy cream.
But I made a caramel. Here we go. And that's what I did with that. And it was just friggin' fantastic. And the pumpkin pound cake surprised me. I'm going to put the pumpkin pound cake probably as one of my top 3 pound cakes up there with my blueberry cream cheese pound cake. That pumpkin pound cake was fantastic. And that's something you can surprise people with if you want to cook a dessert for Thanksgiving that's not pumpkin pie. You know, pumpkin pie, people make pecan pies. I've got a pecan pie video out here. I didn't bother to bring it because I don't eat pecans, but I made the video because I know lots of people love it. And the last video that I've got on here is my own recipe, and this is a fruit cake. And since I don't like nuts, I had to come up with a fruit cake recipe that doesn't use nuts. So I did. I worked at it for a while and came up with a fruit cake that I could cook in a cast iron pan. And once again, we cooked it on the Kamado Joe, and this thing was crazy. And what made me even happier about this, and I made a like a sugar glazed drizzle that's made, you know, with a little bit of milk and a little bit of powdered sugar to drizzle on the top of that guy. I've got horrible lighting for that picture, but anyway, my dad was a big fan of fruitcake, and my dad loved this. He thought it was fantastic. So that's a Christmas sort of thing. A lot of people like to make fruit cakes at Christmas. I don't know if my cousin Dewey's on here. My cousin Dewey is a Claxton fruitcake fanatic. He loves them, but I think maybe I'll see if I can't find a way to get some of my pound cake or my fruit cake to Dewey this holiday season coming up. But anyway, guys,
that's a year ahead of time.
Yeah. So I'll bring Tanya back up in here.
Sometimes a couple years.
Tanya, did you try any of that fruit cake when I made it?
I think I did.
What do you remember if you liked it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was pretty good.
So
okay, John, there's tons of comments.
Okay.
That you need to look at and see.
All right. Let's have a look. I'm pulling what's happening is I'm stopping Man Cave Meals. Man Cave Meals YouTube channel, the Man Cave Meals Facebook page, they'll still be there, but I'm not going to post any additional content to those pages. What I've done is I'm going back to just my personal Facebook page, John Setzler. And when I feel compelled to post about cooking, I will post it there, and there will be some things, but I can tell you right up front that it's not going to be all grilling and smoking. It's going to be there'll be some of that'll come up, but I'm going to be doing some different things. I'm going to expand my cooking in some other directions while I continue to use the grills and smokers. I'm going to get back into some of the bread and pizza. In fact, I ordered myself a retirement gift today. I've got one of those new Uni Halo spiral mixers on the way. It'll be here next week. So I'll be really set for making good bread dough, good pizza dough in terms of that mixer. So those kind of things I'll be doing, and I really don't know. What I'm getting away from is schedules. I'm getting away from having to have things done at certain times on certain days, and I'm burned out to some degree. I don't really want to call it burnout because I love doing this stuff, but as far as the live stream's concerned, I'm really going to miss the live stream. I enjoy doing this live stream, and I'm glad to have Jeff here with me every week. That's incredibly helpful. But the problem I have is coming up with fresh content week after week after week. It's been a struggle, and I don't want to be repetitive because I know I don't like watching content creators who are repetitive and doing the same things over and over again. There's a lot of YouTubers out there, and there's some quite large YouTube channels that do the same things over and over again, but that's just not my jam. Chicharrones. Remind me again exactly what those are. Carnitas. I've not tried to make them. No, I have made the pork rinds though. They were very good. What else we got, Tanya?
Hang on, I've got. There's a lot of comments out there that I'm going to try to get through these first, and then we'll tackle some of them that are coming in while we're talking.
I appreciate it, Brian. Those kind of comments right there make it all worthwhile. And I'm glad that people like me. This is that kind of comment. That's how I got in with Kamado Joe. When I introduced myself to Kamado Joe, and my introduction to Kamado Joe was me asking them if I could have one of their grills. This was before I was doing anything with Kamado Joe. And Bobby, the former owner of Kamado Joe, spent a good bit of time one weekend apparently watching my video content, and he sent me a grill. And he just said, he says, you're easy to watch. He says, you're easy to understand, you're easy to listen to, and you present things in a way that's easy to understand. He says, I want you to do some of that with my grill. So that's how I got started with Kamado Joe. But I don't know. I feel like I'm a good teacher, but I feel also like I don't have much to offer today's audience, because my audience has dwindled to not a whole lot over the last few years. So, and I know there's a few hardcores in there that have been following me for a long time, but overall, the appeal of what I do is waning for some reason or another. I'm not 100% sure why that is, but it is. So what's next, Tanya?
Okay, hang on a sec. I'm having to flip through a couple of screens. All right. When you were talking about your baked beans, Beth wanted to know if you make them with some spice.
I put some barbecue rub in, salt and pepper. Let me scroll back up and find that and have a quick look at what went in that particular batch. I've got multiple videos on baked beans, so this one has onion, one number 10 can of the Bush's original baked beans, 2 cups of your favorite barbecue sauce, and I recommend a Kansas City or a sweeter sauce for this. Uh, Diced peaches, diced mangoes, drained. I don't put the liquid from those in there. 1/4 cup of bourbon, which is optional, and 3 tablespoons of your favorite sweet barbecue rub, and then some brown sugar and honey. So with baked beans, when you get to that point, when those flavors have had a chance to do their thing, you can taste it and you can adjust it to whatever you think it needs. If you think it needs black pepper, add black pepper. If you want some cayenne, add that. These baked beans are definitely something that you can cook to taste, because you can leave them on there, and you can, if they start to thicken up and dry out, you can always add more liquid to them to thin them. But cook that to taste. So, but like I said, I would have used the barbecue rub that I would have put in there would have been whatever barbecue rub I was currently using on pulled pork. That's what I recommend. I wouldn't go with a heavy salt pepper. I would go with a pulled pork style barbecue for that. I appreciate it. That's the Kamado does have a learning curve, and I had to go through it. I had never cooked on one before when I got my first one. I had a little bit of Kamado experience before I got my first Kamado Joe, but from cooking on the Acorn. But the Kamado Joe was an entirely different experience than the Acorn. It was everything the Acorn needed to be. It was the $700. It was the $700 less that the Acorn didn't cost. So yeah, the Kamado, it's just a tool. It's like any grill. It doesn't matter whether you got a Kamado or you've got some other grill. that's another piece of advice I guess I should make sure everybody leaves with is you got to know how to run your grill. Once you know how to run your grill, you can make it do everything you want it to do. It will be just as easy as your indoor oven. You just got to learn how to put it at the temperatures you want. And that being said, don't sweat exact temperatures. You've got low, medium, high, and screaming. And low is 250 ish. High or medium is 350 ish. High is 450 ish, and screaming is 500 or higher. You get on those temperatures and stay anywhere 25 to 40 degrees one side or the other, you're going to cook. It doesn't have to be right on whatever it says in the recipe you're reading. So I appreciate it. Devin, thanks for all the videos. Good. I appreciate the well wishes. Fletcher. Yeah, I don't know how far Fletcher is from here. I'm trying to visualize where Fletcher is on a map.
Yeah, it's not too far. Maybe one day you can come up when I have a light day at work and we can meet.
Is that up near where you work, Fletcher?
That's not too far from Flat Rock.
Well, then we can go to we can go up to Sierra Nevada then and have a beer or 12. Absolutely. We'll make that happen. What else we got? Randall, I'm glad to have been able to have the opportunity to do that. I got a nice message from Bobby the other day when Bobby saw what's going on. He sent me a nice text. So,
yeah, because I don't have anybody to talk about football with.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Awesome. What else we got? Roger. Thanks. I'm glad I've been helpful. That's
this is where he was asking about the grits. Yeah. So yeah. Andrew, sometimes shoot me an email and we'll talk about grits.
Do a YouTube search for grits and you'll find it. Yeah, free time. This is going to free up my schedule to allow me to do different things that don't require a lot of effort. But I'm not going to quit cooking. And if you follow my personal Facebook page, you'll get to see everything I have my hands in. And a lot of that's still going to be on the grill. But for the next little bit, I envision I'm going to be doing some work with breads and pizzas to stretch the legs on that new mixer that's coming. And Brian, thank you. Yes, you've got to try that dunk cake. I'm telling you, that's one of the best desserts I've ever made. Daniel, I remember that. I do remember that. Daniel has an autographed picture of me. And Daniel, I think it's only happened maybe one or two other times that I've been asked for an autograph. Guys, this was I believe it was near Christmas one year maybe. Daniel's wife contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to send her an autographed photo for Daniel for Christmas. It was that kind of made my day. At that point I had never been asked for anything like that before. Daniel, I hope y'all are still doing well. I guess you're still cooking a lot, so good deal. Brian, what would you like to see from Kamado Joe? Jeff, you want to hit that first? Got any ideas? I do.
I'd like to see him come out with a good temperature controller. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the iCommand,
You didn't like the iCommand, Jeff?
John, no, seriously. A lot of people had a lot of problems with the iCommand. I didn't. Yep. The ones that I got worked pretty darn good. So I can't really talk bad about the iCommand. It worked.
I'm a little bit chuffed about the iCommand process because I stuck my neck out for it twice, and the problem I had is that after I stuck my neck out and says this thing's ready to go, there was a change that would happen between the time I said that and the
Yep.
time it went to production that bit me in the ass twice.
Yep.
And I do agree, and I'll admit that I do believe that the iCommand was released before it was ready for prime time.
Definitely.
But there was a financial agreement of some sort. I don't know any of the details on this between Kamado Joe and DeSora that they needed to get that product out, and that gave it enough of a black eye that it could never recover from that. So
no, and it cost Kamado Joe big time.
Well, I don't know. It's I didn't want to see it hit the streets, but I don't know. DeSora said there's nothing going on that we can't fix with software, which we found out not to be the case. There were design
the big
issues
problem was
as well.
It seemed like every time they fixed something, they broke two other things.
Yeah, but
and I don't get that. I mean, because you and I are coders. You know,
right.
If you got your code set and you make a change, it shouldn't be breaking other things.
No,
unless you're really
it's got to run
messing
through a
around.
test environment. But
And
Brian, I've got some ideas on. I still don't think the perfect Kamado's been invented, and the Kamado Joe 3 series is very close to being a perfect Kamado. If there was going to be a man cave special edition Kamado Joe, it would be a Kamado Joe Classic 3. It would have a flat black finish on the outside. It would not be red, glossy. It would be flat black. The control tower would be unfinished. It would not be powder coated. It would just be bare. It would be bare aluminum. No finish on it. And the dome would be reshaped to where it's about 5 inches taller than it is now.
The other thing that I would do, John, is like they did with the pellet grill, is make that steel band on the bottom and the gasket on the top. I don't think it needs the double gasket.
I agree. That was one part of the pellet Joe that I think was right. And for you, those of you that have never seen a pellet Joe, it doesn't have a gasket on the dome and the base. It's just on the dome, and there's a metal plate around the base that gasket comes and sits on. That solves a couple of problems, because one of the biggest reasons gaskets fail is because idiots like me and Jeff drip on them and spill sauce on them and whatnot.
Yep.
And when you close it and it sticks to the top, when it rips it off, when you pull them apart, these nice fiberglass gaskets that the Kamado Joes have now, the adhesive that they put them on there with doesn't last very long. I don't know if they've changed this. This may have been changed in recent history, but I use that Permatex copper that you get at the auto parts store, and just put a very super thin bead of that all the way around, fasten that gasket back on, and it'll last you forever. I've not had to worry about any of my gaskets. Thanks, Carl.
Yep,
I'll miss you guys too, but you can still message me. Ryan, thank you, sir. It's been fun.
Keep up the good cooks, Ryan.
Wolfpack, yes. I do have my Wolfpack hat on. That's interesting, because I had my Yankees hat on earlier today, I think.
But he's not actually a Yankees fan, so y'all.
No, I just bought it because it fit. Happily responsible for 9 KJ purchases among my community. Good deal. I'll admit,
KJ is the best Kamado out there.
I helped sell a few Kamado Joes. Yep. Beth, I thank you as well. And I still follow you. Beth, didn't you guys just move? Or are you getting ready to move? Or was that somebody else? I can't remember. I've got so many people that I watch, I can't keep up with all of them. Maybe Jeff and Tanya will start their own live stream.
I don't think so.
So what else have we got?
If you
It
want
would
to
be the
connect with me,
fucking
you're going to have to
live
connect with me at the
stream.
fire show.
I can update you every day. Is how many times I said fuck or oh fuck today.
So what else do we have? Yeah, Beth said she's moving. So the Premier League. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tanya's team never got back to the Premier League, I don't think. I think they're
Not
playing
yet.
JV. They're playing JV high school teams here in the United States now. I think Swansea City is on a high school tour here in the U.S. now. Honor, glad you could catch in with us late here. Excellent. Mike? No, I won't be bringing it back this time. I've done that before, but I don't know. There maybe it won't be. If it does come back in any way, shape, or form, it won't be like this, because one of the reasons that I'm frustrated so much with the live stream is this platform that I'm using. Facebook hides it from you. They won't show it to you anymore. I used to could post the announcement for the live stream and it would show up in my feed. They've buried it completely. If you go to the Man Cave Meals page on Facebook, you won't see this. You have to go into the events tab to find it. It's not showing it to anybody anymore. So using this platform to do it to stream on Facebook is a complete waste of time, simply because they just won't show it to you.
Facebook wants you to use their stuff, which is
but Facebook doesn't have a platform like this.
Nope.
They don't have a method. Yeah. I haven't talked to Chef Eric lately. I might just try to give him a call sometime. I think he was out in Colorado or California or somewhere last week.
Colorado.
Yeah. So.
All right. And there are tons more comments like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I will, you know, we got to get to the real reason why everyone came tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Tanya Sluggo.
Oh,
so
boy. Here we go.
It is now past June 23rd at like 2:02 Central European time. So we got this nifty bag to keep it in. 20 years, Legos Inside Tour. And here it is, my friends. It is actually a set of mini builds that they've done in past tours.
Yep.
And I got all of the nifty signatures and everything. Like I said, I'm really excited I can now share that with you.
Levi, I'm going to steal that from her because one of them's already sold on eBay for over $10,000.
Yeah.
And there's another one on auction that's up to $7,800.
I've got number 2 of 50. So I got a good pull. So yay. But yeah, we've got that. And I had a great time on the trip. So,
all righty. Well, I've gone way over tonight, but I'm not mad about that since this is the last time. But like I said, guys, this is the end of Man Cave Meals. I'm not going to be continuing to post anything on Man Cave Meals, and follow me on my personal Facebook page. I've set that up as a professional account where you can just follow the page if you want to, and cooking content that I post will be there, and it will be random. So we're going to sign out, guys. I appreciate all of you hanging with me for all this time, as long as you have, and
it's been real.
Cheers.
Enjoyed it, everybody. Stay in touch.